My name is Idris Jibrin, and welcome to Jigawa State in Focus. In today's edition of the program, we talk about education. Now, education is considered as the key driver for the socio-economic development of any society. In Jigawa State, the current administration of Malam Umar Namadi Modi has given a top priority to education sector. Now, in this edition of the program, we take a look at the Ministry of Education, but this time around, higher education. A lot of things are happening in Jigawa State Ministry for Higher Education, from students being taken abroad to study to renovation and rehabilitation of various tertiary institutions across the state. In fact, a lot of things are happening here. Now, we would look at entirely the Ministry for Higher Education here in Jigawa State.
Since the commencement of this government, we have achieved so much in the sector of education due to the support that is given by His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Jigawa State, Malam Umar Namadi. The first achievement that we have achieved in this ministry, by the time when we came on board, we went around to the school and see how the activities were going on, and then in the process of that inspection, we discovered that the school feeding, there is some problem with regard to school feeding, in which that we discovered that the food or the amount or the quantity that is given to the student, actually it's not adequate. So we immediately met His Excellency and advised him that considering the high rate of inflation, so there is a need for increment for that school feed rate. So instantly the governor accepted and increased the school feeding by the 40%. So this is an achievement because initially what was paying, it was 180, but it is now changed to 300 naira per student. And then another area that we have also achieved is the control of school admission. Actually, by the time we came on board, we observed that students usually, they don't return to school in time, more especially during the first term. Some, it may take them up to maybe 2 months, some up to the third term before they resume to school. So immediately we paid a courtesy call or a visit, unscheduled visit to the unit that is in charge of production of school examination, GI, and etc. So we had a discussion with them, what are the problems that are making them unable to produce the GI to newly admitted students in time. So they explained to us that they are facing some of the challenges that has to do with the logistics. Immediately we approved for the logistics for them to be able to complete their exercise in time. And alhamdulillah, we have directed them that we wanted them to produce a GI, to conduct the examination, produce a GI at least 3 weeks before the resumption of students for the first term. And then, God willing, they have done very well because they were able to conduct the examination, to mark it, and also release the list of successful students in which the GI was produced. And then later, when they produced the successful list, initially what was used to is just to use handwritten to write the name of the student. So this time around, actually we computerize it, whereby we use a computer and then we produce the GI. It is only taken to a particular school to distribute to the students so that there's nobody that can tamper with that GI. And then that also help us to have like a database of students that we admitted, because whatever we did it centrally. So we did it here from the ministry, and then we were able to distribute the GI 2 weeks to 3 weeks before the resumption of the first term. And then we make an announcement that we urge the parent that they should take their kids to the school within 3 days of resumption. Anyone that failed to do so, and then he will not be accepted in the school until when he come to the ministry and receive like a clearance. And then that has actually helped us for the early resumption of students, whereby during the first week, even the newly admitted students have resumed to school. I think that since the creation of the state, this is the first time whereby we have that kind of success, whereby when the school is open, within the first week you can see that all the students they return. And on that we did during the second term, in which that we have controlled resumption, so that can allow the student to cover the syllabus that they supposed to cover. And another thing that we also achieve is the area of admission. Actually, before we came, when you take our science and technical schools, everyone wants his kid to be in the science school because he wants to become a doctor, engineer, etc. And then we observe that actually the procedure is violated, because if one is influential, he can just send the list for the number of students to be admitted. There is no control, because to my surprise, when I went around, I discovered that in a particular class, you can see that it contains about 130 to 150. So actually, we told them that actually this is unacceptable. There is no way that you can handle a class with this kind of number. So we need to control it. And then we discussed with His Excellency, and he also instantly approved for that. So when it comes to the admission, we reduce the number from 100 plus to 60 in number, whereby we admitted the student on merit based on the performance of the student. Maybe if we need about 500 students or 300 students, so they are admitted based on what they score in their examination. So if you are taking maybe from number 1 to number 50, that's how we admit them. And then that has also helped us to achieve a greater record, or to record a successful achievement with regard to the student performance, because based on the information that we received from those schools, for those that were admitted last year based on that criteria, so they performed better than the other students that were admitted previously, because there was no procedure that was followed. It was not based on merit. But for this, we did it based on merit, and then it were only the deserved student or qualified student that were admitted in those schools. And then when you go around, you can see that for the SS1, the number is not more than 60. Some they are even below the 60. So what we intend to do during the next admission year, we want to bring it down to 50. So we want a situation whereby we will make it to like 30 per class, so that a teacher can be able to handle it very well. And another achievement that you have recorded is procurement of school furniture, in which that it was distributed to both staff and students. By the time when we came, we went around for inspection, and then we discover in some schools, actually, they are having the problem of furniture. You can go to a staff room that you can see some teachers, they don't even have a seat to stay. They share like student table. So immediately we inform His Excellency, and then we got the approval. So we make the procurement of over 300 million, and then we now distribute them to all the needs school, both for staff and students. And another success that we have recorded, it has to do with the engagement of teachers. Actually, by the time when we came, we make a need assessment of the number of teachers that we need at the Ministry of Higher Education, and then our senior secondary schools in particular, based on the number of students that we have. So the number of teachers that we're supposed to have in the ministry, or the teachers gap that we have, it was 2009. So immediately we discussed with His Excellency, and then he approved the engagement of 1,100 JT teachers, whereby they are engaged at a temporary basis, and then after some time, when we are satisfied with their performance, then they can convert it to permanent and pensionable staff. So immediately we have recruited 1,100 JT staff. In addition, there is 1,973 staff that are deployed from the basic Ministry of Basic, because in the Ministry of Basic there are some staff that they obtain higher degrees, like the BA, BEd, BSc, and master's degree. So based on that, they have to be transferred to senior secondary school. So the governor also approved for the development of that 1,973. So when you take our need assessment, considering the number of teachers that we need, so you can see that at the Ministry of Higher Education, we don't even have the teachers there. We have even the surplus, because now what we need was 2009 and 9, and then now we have the additional of 3,073 teachers. So they are now in the process of fairly distribution to the required schools. And then what we need, another achievement that we have recorded, when we came on board, the first thing that we need to have like a baseline data, whereby we can see where we made the ministry and then what we have added and then what are the gaps. So we sponsored the collection of the data for all the 293 schools, in which that the data were collected based on the number of buildings that they need renovation, they need additional block, the number of teachers, student enrollment, the furniture that are needed, the laboratory, the computer labs, everything that has to do with the school activity. When we came, we discovered that there are so many violations with regard to the way in which the tertiary school are handled. So the best thing that we can bring change, we need to come up with a committee of inquiry so that we can be able to know what are the problems and then what are the way forwards. And then Alhamdulillah, His Excellency inaugurated the committee, and then they were able to do the work, and then they have done an excellent job whereby they came up with the report. And then the council constituted a committee of white paper committee. I think that it was even last council on Wednesday that the council approved the report of the white paper committee, in which that almost all the head of the institution were removed, and then some measures are to be taken in order to revive the institution. And then the procedure, the method that are to be adapted in order to revive and to standardize the system has already been given by the white paper committee. And then we have now started the implementation process, because even today we are going to start the implementation. The implementation is categorized into three. There are some that can be handled by the Ministry of Justice, there are some that can be handled by the head of service office, and then there are some that we can handle at the Ministry of Higher Education. So those that are at our hand, we have started implementing them, and now I believe with that within the short period of time, actually you can see changes. And then another thing that we have succeeded and recorded is the issue of internet connectivity, because in that area, inshallah by next week, the World Bank is to connect our senior secondary school, 300 senior secondary school with the internet, in which the state government has purchased the routers that they can be used for the internet provision. And then we have also made an assessment of our laboratories, so that when this internet is connected, then it can be used to train both the staff and students, and then they can also be used as a center, like trade center, whereby students can be taught the issue of this vocational activity or skills, whereby a student can be taught the issue of like artificial intelligence, like coding, so that after completing a secondary school, inshallah, a student can have a skill that can depend on. And then so in the ministry, we can be able like to coordinate our school with that internet, so that we can be able to control the activity of the school within the office, so that we can have a dashboard where you can be following what is going in the school, maybe the issue of going to the class, the attendance, the staff, everything. And another area that we have also recorded a huge success is the area of renovation. You see, during the last rainy season, usually we used to have storm damage, whereby schools and buildings can be collapsed due to that rain. So alhamdulillah, so far we were able to renovate, I think, over 70 schools, whereby some it is a block, some the roofing, some entirely the area. So that can also, we have also achieved that, and then we have handled that. And then another thing that we brings in the area, the change of the style, even the way that the contract is handled. You can compare by yourself when you see the building. You can see that there are some buildings that were constructed just last 2 years, but they have become dilapidated. But when you see the new one that we have done, So it's entirely different because it is well supervised. So the contractor, they did a very good job. When you see even the toilet, their surrounding, they put an interlocks. Even you can see the tiles in the student toilet, which they were not before. So these are some of the things, and then we continue to achieve. And another area that we have recorded success is distribution of laboratory and the kitchen utensil. So by the time we came, we discovered that it's the gap. Some secondary school, they don't have reagent and equipment in their laboratory, so we make procurement in which that they were distributed to school. Even the kitchen utensil were distributed just last 2 months. So one of the major challenges that we are facing, or the teachers' lack of training, because they need to be updated. So that we have also started, and then we are given the approval for that training of our teachers. And then there's also the issue of the teachers' welfare. As I said earlier, we have started renovating many staff quarters. I think that so far we have, when you take the statistics, I think we have renovated more than about 15 to 20, because we take them into phases, because work is very huge. You cannot handle them at once. But now we have started from school that maybe we renovated 2 to 3 numbers. And then in the current budget, when we have to start another work, so you can be able to take like 5, 4. So that's how we are going to do till when we completed the entire renovation. And actually, for now, we have the 7 tertiary institutions. With one state university, that's Lamido University, Kapian Hausa. We have Dutse Polytechnic, we have in Dutse, we have Biliamino Usong Polytechnic in Hadija, and then we have Informatic Institute in Kazauri. We have College of Education Gumal, we have College of Education and Legal Studies Ringin, and then we have Jikora School of Art and Remedial Studies in Bahapra. So these are the number of the tertiary institutions we have so far at now. Actually, we are not considering the additional number of tertiary institutions, because what we want to do, we want to maintain and revive their function, because based on our need, what they need is not the issue of additional tertiary institution. What we have now, I think it can cater for our need at the moment. Maybe we don't know in future what will happen. The first thing that we did when we came on board, there was payment of SSCE, YR, that is MVIs and NAPTIP, to about 41,358 students, in which that it cost the government the sum of 725 million. So this amount was paid as a payment for the NECO, MVIs and NAPTIP. In addition, there was a crisis in Sudan, and then the Jigawa State government has students there, which they are reading the MBBS. So the number of the students that were deported from the Sudan because of the crisis is 184 students. So by the time when they came to Nigeria, so we sought on how to place them to continue their study, because we don't want them to be wasted. The government has already invested on them. So we try our best to secure an admission for all the 184 students, in which that more than 100 are females. So we were lucky that we got the admission from the Near East University in Cyprus. And then, as at now, we have completed all the process for the departure of the student to the Cyprus to continue with their studies, MBBS study, that's medicine. So the government, it cost the government about 3 billion naira.
This is very, very important day in our journey to a greater Jigawa State. After a series of struggle and a lot of trauma for our students and their parents, and even ourselves, today, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are able to overcome the situations. Today we are bidding a farewell to about 194 students, 10 students going to Integrated University in India, and 184 to Near East University in Cyprus. This is a day worth celebration. We know the amount of pressure and the trauma we went through to come to this level. We have tried as much as possible to make sure that we have given the students a platform that is not substandard. And that is why it took us this long to be where we are today. Despite all difficulties, we are able to accomplish our objectives. So I once again congratulate the parent and the student for achieving this feat. And I want to sincerely thank the members of the Jigawa State Executive Council for their role in being where we are today.
Another thing, during the last session when the federal institution increased their fee or introduced the tuition fee, so there were a number of students which they could not afford to pay the fee. So as a result of that, about 50, they have decided to leave the study. So when we heard of that, the government approved to source for those students and paid for their money. So in view of that, I think that the government has paid over 167 million to those indigenous students that study at Bayero University, Kano, FUD, and some few universities across Nigeria. And then there's also the internal scholarship, which is usually given to students that they study at the Jigawa state institutions and beyond, Kano and the other states in Nigeria. So the state government has already released the payment of those students. It costs the government about 732,832,252 naira. So these are the students that they are studying internally. And then their number, I think that they are about 26,835. So these are the Jigawa State engineers that they are studying at various institutions in Nigeria, and then plus those that they study outside. So when you add the number together, it will give you about 28,000 students that they study both at the international and national level. So this is what the government has done. It has done, actually, it is within this 6 months that the government has spent this huge amount of money. So when you put them together, it costs about 5 billion naira for the payment of the external student, internal student, SSCE. So just within 5 months, so the government has spent about 5 billion naira in scholarship. The state government has also spent a huge amount of money in terms of postgraduate scholarship, whereby just of recent, there were a number of applicants that they are studying at the barrier institution in Nigeria or university, where the government give them the sum of 150,000 for master's student and then 200,000 for PhD student. And then just last 2 weeks, there are Senior Special Assistant His Excellency on Student Affairs also gather students and give them the sum of 50,000 naira for those that study masters, and then a PhD I think 100,000 naira.
These students are students that are almost left out from our normal scholarship scheme. People reading masters, people reading PhD, and people who are stuck that they have not been able to continue with their studies and they cannot complain. This program which is Tamodi Student Care, initiated by the SSA Student Affairs, is going to the nook and corners of Jigawa State to get this kind of people and ensure that financial barrier do not stop them in pursuing their education. So this is a program, this program will continue. I will continue to identify people, both at the higher level and even at the lower level. You can see that the program also has an issue of providing uniform to primary school students. It's also part of the program to provide reading material to primary school students, those that cannot afford. So the program targets the needy at the nook and corners of Jigawa State. I want at this juncture thank the committee of 30 individuals, the indigenous of Jigawa State, who has a passion, they have a passion for education. And they are doing this work voluntarily, without anything. So I want to thank them very much for this. And I want to assure you that we'll continue to give you all the necessary support that you require.
In addition, there are also students that are going to the law school. So for the last year, I think the number is not too much. There were 7, in which the state government has increased their fee to about 300 plus with laptop computer. Just recently, yesterday, the government has released the scholarship for this year category, in which they are about 38 in number, in which the government also gave them the sum of 300 plus laptop computer. So this is what the government is doing in terms of postgraduate scholarship, and then it continues doing it till we give to all deserving students of Jigawa State. And then the government will continue to do its best to see that it save the education in the state. That is why in this year budget, 32% of the total budget was allocated to education.
Supporting these young men and women to pursue their educational career in the law school is a very big boost to our journey to a greater Jigawa. Because an educated society is a progressive society. We believe these young men and women, after finishing the law, they are law graduates, now they are going into law school for their LLB. I am sure at the end of it, they will be greater citizens of Jigawa State. They will contribute in various aspects of Jigawa State development. So this is a long-term investment we are making for the progress of Jigawa State. It's part of our commitment to ensure that we support the educational pursuit of our young men and women. This is our resolution, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, like I always said, a lot of things are happening in Jigawa State. You have seen the various achievements recorded by the administration of Governor Umar Namadi Dammodi so far from the Ministry of Higher Education, from student going abroad to several other achievements. But this is where we're going to drop the curtain of the program. I'm going to join you next week, where you will see another fresh edition of the program. Next week, I'm assuring you, we will go to the basic education to see what is happening there as well. Thanks for watching. My name is Idris Jibrin.
Kan karkara ku sha burin ku na ce yardar ilahu ba.